Hey everyone, welcome to ThetaWave podcast. We are testing a new setup here, and as you can see, we've got a little bit different of some uh, camera setup going on, some different camera angles, and we tried to fix a couple more of our audio and hardware and connection issues, um, so that we can have less interrupts during our podcast. So we're going to do a brief test stream today on. For probably about 45 minutes or so. And then we will, on Sunday, we will do our full live stream. And then hopefully, supposing all goes well there, hopefully on Tuesday, we can start streaming at our regular time that we should have been streaming at. So,
Yes. I am very much hoping for that. But hey, I'm excited for this podcast. I think it's going to be a great time. And
Mhm.
actually, there was something that kind of popped into my mind that I thought was very interesting. You know, back in the early stages of psychology and neuroscience, we only really had the ability to guess based off behavior and very little things we knew due to different surgeries. So we had very minimal understanding of the actual algorithm and how the actual functions of the brain really work explicitly. So what did we have to work with? The product of the algorithms, right? And
Mhm.
so the product of this is so incredibly expansive and imaginative and filled with infinite possibilities that you get this really flowery, very mystical mind. And that's kind of what we get out of like Carl Jung's style of psychology, like Jungian psychology and dream analysis, all of these things with very flowery language. And it really does pull you in. We have to realize it's the product of the algorithm that's behind that. And as we've grown to understand it, those two have become synchronized and built on top of each other, which I
Mhm.
think is really cool. How the development of how we understand neuroscience actually helps us really understand how psychology works, especially in the older days. Because if you read their books, they're they're captivating. And I think it's because they got gripped by something that's in the mind. And they said, let's explore this. And so they did it to the best of their abilities. And it's so real that the books in like the 1960s are just incredible. I wish that there was that style now with the more, you know, hardcore, very analytical and logical algorithmic thinking of neuroscience. I kind of want to be the one kind of bridge the gap between that, you know? I think that would be pretty awesome.
There's always been a certain element of um, there's always been a certain element of philosophy and uh, psychology that has been behind the development of neuroscience, then um, there's a lot of oftentimes until neuroscience finds an evidence to prove something one way or the other, there are a bunch of philosophies about how things can work, and then those kind of sometimes will guide the neuroscience research that is done uh, on things in order to determine if something, a philosophy is correct, and so those two have always kind of worked hand in hand with each other.
And the way they work hand in hand is so incredible because, I mean, it seems to be the case. Otherwise, I don't think we would have developed as fast as we do. And what is okay? So this is interesting, right? We've only done really serious neuroscience and psychology for the past like 200 years, maybe. But psyche, that's different. That has thousands and thousands of years of writings and people who have explored their minds, and their minds reveal things that are deep within their subconscious. And then you get things that resonate with people very much because it's so real and no one's ever verbally expressed it before. You get that through all these ancient texts, which I think why so many people are allured to these ancient philosophies and religions is because of the realness of the the inner life of what they're representing. And it's cool to see how we have this long history of understanding our consciousness that then helps kind of catapult us a little bit into really understanding the logic and the science behind it. Like it's kind of how most things develop, but I think the richness of human experience really exemplifies that for the most part.
Um, Give me one second here. I'm trying to figure out why our auto director is not.
Oh, the auto director isn't working. All right. At last. This way. Oh wait, what's that one disorder called that you mentioned? The body integrity identity disorder. But I don't know if that's exactly explicitly what you meant because that one was more parietal insula and out cortex. I mean, insula. I think so. But I wonder what that would feel like. Not being able to imagine looking at your arm and being like, is it mine? I have to get rid of it. It has to be gone. Sadly, I think my inner experience is way too strong for that. I think I have more inner experience than I do outer. I kind of overdeveloped that way. It's like attention mechanism enhancements in a way instead of disorders. It's all about what you focus on, your aim. You know, actually, I I, I really like the word sin because the word sin, like they say, oh, we're all sinners, right? Well, you look at the original term, sin, an archery term, right? Means to miss the mark. So to miss the mark is a sin. And, well, what target are you aiming at? And are you fully attempting, fully trying to hit the mark? And if you are, then I think that is good and true. But if you're really not trying, I think fundamentally it is a sin. I mean, not in any like ontological way, but I think it's a good word to showcase how oftentimes we live our lives missing the mark in relation to our goals and what we desire. Really trying trying to hit the mark? Are you even picking up the bow at all? Question. You're not even attempting to aim because you've never done it before? Listen, you're going to fail, but you should at least try a couple times and kind of guesstimate how far away the distance is, how much you need to go.
Especially for those urinals that are embedded into the ground.
Hmm.
Definitely make sure to take a second and judge distance.
Make sure you have your aim right. You know? Exactly. Hey, man, it's hard. Because sometimes when you're like really close, like you kind of look down, you can't even see it, and you're like, "Oh wait, where'd it go?" And then and then you take a step back, you aim, and you're like, "Ah, see." You know, it's actually really funny. So, you know that one psalm that's like, "The Lord is my shepherd; I shall not want. He leads me in green pastures." You know that one. Every time I like slightly need to pee, but I'm not able to get it out, I'll recite that psalm, and it makes it really easy to pee.
What?
Like, like literally, I won't even need to pee at all. And then I'll be like, "Lord is my shepherd. I shout out," and it works. I'm able to pee. It's insane. It's the most miraculous thing I've ever experienced. It's it's the one, I guess, miracle that I've witnessed in my life is that. Hey man, it's a necessary bodily function. Imagine if we, you know what? This is going in a direction I don't want it to go in. But maybe all our viewers do. What do you guys think?
Well, they can't pick here.
Oh no. I saw this service that you can, it's like an app where you can hire bodyguards to drive you around. Yeah. No, seriously. Like, hey man, give me a gun, I'll be able to protect anyone. Even if not, I'm I'll be rocking it with some fists. I have this one thing. It's kind of like those knuckle braces, but there's a long handle with like so if I ever need to like break my car window, I can really easily. So like I've always thought about if anybody ever tries to like attack me, I grab that thing, I smash their head in. But I've only thought about it a couple times, and only if necessary. I'd rather scare them off. I don't like violence unless it's controlled and very much consensual violence. But that's the thing. Okay, that's the thing about consent. Okay. Sometimes I really want to give my consent to fight the person who's trying to attack me. Like, "Oh, you're attacking me? Well, what do you do back? Time to have some fun?" Get it. Legally, I'm covered. How much can you get away with? How much is excessive force? What if I say we were really struggling to fight each other and I just really
You have a really tough face.
Mhm. My facial skin is really rough. Just kidding. It's insanely sensitive. So,
Audio? Well, I'm not. We're getting audio because it should be getting audio from. Oh, now it is. Go sit down.
we're in business, baby.
We are in business, and our director is fully online.
Oh, yeah. This is awesome. Now we can talk and the viewers can actually see us.
Mm-hmm.
Did you do anything to fix it or did it just like pop up?
I did, but it didn't look like it initially fixed it, and then it turns out it did.
You know what? You did a good job. I'll turn on for you.
Double check our audio, make sure director's not causing any bugs. No, it's not causing any bugs. It's good, except for when you're whistling. Outside, going back here. Okie doke.
All right.
And we're back. All right.
Way to go.
Sorry, guys. Also, I'm getting used to looking at the camera over here instead of at the camera preview over there. So if I accidentally look over here instead of at you, I'm sorry. Not you, it's me.
Get nervous making eye contact.
Yeah, I people make me nervous. I just don't like looking in the eyes.
So, what's the most fascinating thing you've come across recently?
Mm, hmm. That's a hard one because it depends on the day.
What about today?
I think the most fascinating thing that I've contemplated recently, off and on, has been the the pairing and the central nature of being able to incorporate uncertainty into action making decisions. And for humans, that seems kind of, when you say it, kind of seems obvious, self evident. Like, of course, like, if you're unsure, about something, yada yada. But when you think about how essential that element is to correct decision making, the implications extend way further. And recently I've been contemplating it in the context of machine learning scenarios and the different how important being able to estimate uncertainty, and then not only that, but have a idea of your general uncertainty levels about things, and so have a basis for which to determine how far something is above or below
Yeah.
your average uncertainty, and so kind of keeping almost a running track with the uh a higher weight towards more recent uncertainty calculations, and a lower weight to uncertainty calculations that were more in the distant past, and using that for kind of um, a way to gauge your uncertainty about something.
Have you looked at Carl Friston's free energy principle at all?
There's no such thing as free energy.
Well, it's well, the free energy principle, there isn't free energy. It's always come at a cost, right? But
There's always going to be loss whenever there's an energy conversion that happens, and so a lot of free energy systems um, like think that there's a way to maintain a like a des- design something in a way that maintains it kind of almost is like a code to the universe kind of a thing where you can create something in such a way that constantly propels itself, forward and then harnesses energy through it, but that's just not
it's not
it's
possible.
not possible. Like it you
But
constantly lose
yeah, I don't know why it's
energy.
called the free energy principle, but pretty much, and well, so Carl Friston's free energy principle is pretty much this mathematical framework to describe how the brain actually minimizes free energy or uncertainty.
So it has nothing to do with free energy.
Has nothing to do with free energy. He just calls it like free energy for some reason, and he's minimizing it. So, or no, he's not minimizing it. He's saying, hey, this is kind of the more mathematical representation of how the brain minimizes uncertainty in itself, which I thought was cool and kind of along the lines of what you were saying.
Until I went off on that tangent.
Yeah.
But um
No, but it's true. It's like the what's the saying? The hardest part about building a self-sustaining machine is hiding the battery, you know?
yeah. There's ways to create really efficient
Yeah,
machines that
super
are
efficient.
you know,
Very
they
low
can
entropy.
last for a long time for sure. We see calculators that have lasted for um, you know, going on probably 50 or 60 years and so there are ways of making things very very efficient, but there is and I used to want this to be true so bad. Like I used to think free energy. I was like if I was like there's a way that you can arrange I was sure there was a way that you could arrange magnets and create a magnetic field that would propel something constantly no matter what and um and I spent a long time like thinking through and looking through research and how magnetic fields work and like calculations and whatnot until I eventually arrived at at the realization that it goes against the laws of physics and that the actual math itself would never work out there.
Yeah.
And people that are proponents of it would argue they're like, well, what if there's math you haven't accounted for yet? Like uh what if there is the math we have is wrong? And it's like it's not wrong. It hasn't
Okay.
been wrong yet.
People don't People who say that have no clue what mathematics even means for physics
Right.
then. That makes absolutely no sense. If we discover new math, does that mean we throw away everything we learned about, general relativity?
Right.
Absolutely not.
No, it's just built on top of things
Hmm.
that and are like our mathematical equations that we use for stuff is able to constantly and perfectly describe behavior. And so that's what we're basing these formulations on and those calculations on. And so there are specific mathematics that have been determined for calculating magnetic fields and magnetic field behaviors and whatnot. And the not only does that math not pan out, but for like free energy style things, but the uh the laws of energy don't allow it.
Hmm.
And people see devices like that like harness energy from the air, and they're like, "Oh my god, like, it can be this free energy," and it's like, okay, it's not free energy. You're utilizing a force
Hmm.
that exists, and you're getting a minimal amount of return for it, but um,
Yeah.
and it's the force is just caused by nature.
Mm. Yeah.
It's
You're
like you were
buying,
utilizing wind or
yeah,
something like
you're
that.
buying nature's energy.
Right,
Hmm. So it's not free.
right.
And there's still,
And there's still diminishing return from it.
yeah.
Like, it's just like if you were utilizing wind to spin a turbine, water to spin a turbine, sunlight to power your photovoltaic cells. The There's going to be inevitable energy loss there.
Yeah. I mean, the only thing I can think of, with the only environment I can think of where there would be the potential for free energy is in the Big Bang. I think that in that moment would be the only time you could maybe replicate a we could set an environment and then build something that actually that would be able to have at least all like point 0.000 negative minus or minus 10 to negative 100, like a really small amount, because you have this harmony of the fundamental forces during kind of that, what we can see from the cosmic microwave background, that would kind of allow you to work really nicely with all of the forces that exist in nature, that you might be able to tune it to where you actually have no loss. But that is something that I could only see in some scenario at the beginning of the
You're
universe.
saying that if basically you're saying that the laws of physics were different.
Yeah, pretty much. Like
Well, yeah.
well, I'm yeah, well, well, the laws of physics are different in the environment of the Big Bang. The laws of physics are very different, and so you
Right.
would
Well,
have
you're
to make
saying
that work.
basically you're saying if the laws of physics that we ended up with in our universe because played out differently because of the Big Bang for whatever reason, then yeah, that might be possible. But
But it's not functional within what we have now. Like we won't
no,
ever get that
no.
again.
And I'd say that kind of the almost the closest thing that we have is fusion. You know, the it's not free energy and it's not going to last forever, but it will last long enough to the point it doesn't really matter.
Yeah, exactly.
You
See,
know,
that's what you really want, where it has enough energy to where really the time frame doesn't really matter because, oh no, in 30,000 years, I guess I'll get another,
yeah.
fusion
I'll
reactor.
get it. I'll get another fusion generator
Uh-huh.
for my house.
Exactly. You know. So I mean, hey, if we're getting to the point to where people are starting to live really long lives, and they start getting up to like 10,000, 20,000 years old, you're gonna have people who are, really buying, fusion generators over and over and over again. You're gonna have a lot of buying customers.
Yeah,
That's actually from a capitalist perspective.
I hope that we're
That's
still not
lots of buyers.
working with capitalism by the time we're 30,000 years old.
uh,
That's a good example of a system that has not changed.
and systems that don't change over time crumble.
Die.
Yep.
Yes.
Yeah, that was actually one of the first revelations I ever had on my intellectual journey. Was that systems will crumble over time.
That was one of my
That don't change.
early, um, kind of, I guess, call it like
Revelations.
a revela- revela- revelatory statement that I found to be like, I guess, truism almost.
Yeah.
Kind of was that was realizing that systems that don't change die, and that's always as close to always as you can get going to be the case. Like,
Mhm.
if you the nature of the universe is one that has variables, and whenever there are variables that change and you don't change along with them or adapt along with them, then it's likely that eventually that is going to cause problems, which is going to cause your structural integrity to
Yeah.
decrease, you
But
know?
that's only the case if you're involved in the system. If you're outside of it, there's chaos. And where there's chaos, there's opportunity. So for people like us, structural deformation of capitalism would potentially, if we adapt well, could be very useful for us. That's what I'm thinking. Though it depends on the
Yes,
time
the
frame.
way that you said that was confusing because you made it sound like it was contrary to what I was saying,
Oh, no, I was agreeing
but
with you.
the
I'm going to disagree by agreeing with you.
when you're outside the system, 'cause it sounded like the way you were going with that was that when you're outside the system, that doesn't require adaptation, but,
No, it does require adaptation, but it'll be easy to adapt, easier to adapt.
well, yeah, when you're in a system when you're not inside a system that refuses to change, yes,
Mhm.
that is way easier to adapt.
If you're a part of the system that refuses to change, you're going down with it.
Yeah, but if you're a part of a system that embraces adaptation and change,
Mhm.
then you adapting becomes so much easier because the system is adapting with you, you
That's
know?
such a nice way to set up a country. Like, I would give everything to get a time machine, go back to the founding fathers,
Change the way that they did.
change the way they
Yep.
did it, and say, "Hey guys,
Be like, "This is gonna be a problem in about 100 years or so."
hmm
Like,
so you're gonna fix this right now."
mhm.
Also, there's something called machine learning. You should totally look into. Um,
Let's get a head start on that.
yeah, even before electricity, even before any of that. No, what comes
Mhm,
first? Machine learning.
mhm.
Yeah, I watched this video recently on building a machine learning algorithm from scratch, and it was cool. We would just like write it down on paper and stuff.
Like, which one?
Uh, what was it? Oh, frick! It was. Uh, and that was a. You know,
It wasn't the sigmoid activation function, was it?
no,
Interesting.
no.
Well, I mean, all the networks have some sort of mathematics behind them, so
Yeah.
that makes sense. But, um, yeah, that's kind of one of the areas of machine learning that I'm super fascinated by and, like, am trying to specialize. There's 2 areas specifically of machine learning that I'm kinda trying to specialize in, and, one is, architectural design, um, which is that element of creating structures and algorithms and mechanics um, that add some sort of additional functionality and interaction within a neural network, um, and thinking of new ways for a network to interact with itself, you know.
Yeah.
And that's something that I really love, and I'm constantly doing anyway, so it kind of makes sense. But and then the other area is reinforcement learning, um, and the the kind of optimizations that are left and are that still need to be done and achieved within those architectures.
Mhm. I'm so excited to fully dive into machine learning. I like. I'm gonna fully immerse myself in for months,
Mhm.
just 24/7
You think
AI.
it's gonna be months?
It's gonna be years, baby. Years
Yeah,
until the day that I die.
you might end up in there for a lot longer than you than you
Mhm.
meant to be.
Yeah, it's. I mean, I find that to be true with math. Like I can. It honestly, it gives doing math equation gives me more dopamine than scrolling on Instagram. Like a lot more. And I feel immersed forever. 3 hours will go by and I'm like, whoa, wait, that happened. It's kind of like when we do a podcast where we're kind of just talking forever. And all of a
Mhm.
sudden you look and it's like, oh, we've been here for how long? 4.5
It's 12
hours.
o'clock at night. Nobody is going to be watching us this late.
Yeah.
Oh, speaking of which, this is a random question, and I didn't actually intend to do this on podcast, but since
Yeah,
we're
well,
talking, might as well.
test room.
The Have you ever played D&D?
I've been invited to D&D groups, but then I never ended up going. It always interested me. I've always
It is
wanted to do
fascinating
D&D.
because it combines kind of an almost it combines imagination, like, there's this kind of imaginatory element where you have to be able to immerse yourself in the world,
Mm.
but it combines that with kind of almost your typical role-playing game, whether it's on the computer or otherwise, um, uh, dynamics, and then as this component of acting to it, where you have to act your character, and you have to get into, like, the mindset of your character, and your
Mhm.
actions have to flow from your character
Yeah.
and not from you. And your character can reflect you if you want it to be like you, but
You can do anything
um,
you want.
you can do anything you want. Yeah. And so what's often fun is when you make your character a little bit different from how you naturally are, and then you work on like embodying that, you know.
I want to be an intergalactic space wizard. I think
I
that'd be
want to have a space
great.
pipe and smoke space rings.
Yes, on my spaceship.
I
Uh,
want to ride my space horse into battle.
yes,
No, but the
lone wizard.
reason I asked, yet lone wizard,
Mhm.
this fiery ship at the speed of light, and a hearty hi ho silver.
And his silver pipe would work.
Um, I there's a group of old friends that I had that were um messaged me recently about uh looking for a group to play D&D with, and they're new too, so I was thinking about, and they meet late at night, or they would need to meet late at night. They're on the East Coast, I think. And so that would be a little later for us than it would be for them. But um, we were talking about like somewhere around maybe 8 or 9 o'clock, which depending on which 8 or 9 o'clock we were talking about
Mhm.
might be 10 or 11 for
Yeah.
us.
I mean, hey, that sounds really fun. I mean, I work till 2 in the mornings every day on the weekends,
Mm,
but
we could
any
find a
days.
day that
Mhm.
you didn't work, you know.
Yeah, like Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday,
Yeah,
Friday. Do that.
yeah,
Usually Sundays as well, because I only work till 8:45.
yeah,
So, oh,
yeah.
I'm so down to do D&D. I've
It
always
it
wanted
would
to
be a
do
lot of
it.
fun.
I
Like,
just never had an opportunity.
I've always had in fact, I don't know anybody that has played it and has not had a blast. I'm sure there are
Mhm.
people out there, but
Yeah,
most people do really enjoy it.
I know.
Yeah, and these particular guys are ones that I played League of Legends with for a long time, and so
Oh,
if you ever end up deciding to get into League of Legends, you'll have friends that play that too.
oh yeah,
Um,
that's true. That's true. I definitely want to try League of Legends. That'll be something that we do when we get a place.
yeah,
We'll play League of Legends for
oh
sure.
yeah.
Mhm.
I started recently. I stopped for a long time, but I started recently playing again before going to bed because um, like after I finish work, almost kind of as a reward
Yeah.
for for working and getting through stuff, even if the work itself was not something that I felt like I it was necessary, but it like wasn't stuff that I felt like I accomplished a whole lot, you know? Because that's kind of some of the things I run into with some of these more complex problems that require a lot of thought and working through is where I'll go to bed and I won't feel like I did what I needed
Mm.
to do, even though what I did was stuff I needed to do.
Yeah. For me, I'll reward myself if I don't procrastinate.
Mm.
But if I didn't feel the need to procrastinate in the first place, I will just work until I fall asleep, you know?
Mhm. The
So
other thing that
it's
I've found, like, League of Legends can be good for if you can control it is getting you energized and motivated, um, and leveraging that into, work. But if you're, like, struggling to, like, get kind of energized and awake, like, the adrenaline that the game causes, as a result of kind of just the high intensity scenarios that you get put in, um, the adrenaline that it causes constantly just wakes me up and, like, puts me right there. So if as long as you don't get so addicted that you can't stop yourself from continuing to play it, then that can be really beneficial.
yeah, that's what it's kind of embarrassing, but that's what I used to do with Fortnite actually.
Really?
Was I wouldn't even play a game. I would go and I would go into like this creative where you can just kind of build and do whatever.
Oh, dude. Oh, okay, never mind. I have something else
And
I wanna talk to you.
and I would do it for like 15 minutes and then I'd feel really in the zone and like focused. And then I would just go and work and I would feel so much more efficient.
Yeah, yeah. If you want a game that you can just get lost in the creative elements of it, 7 Days to Die it's an open world game is based on a zombie apocalypse,
Mm,
and, uh, it's kind of like imagine Minecraft if Minecraft had good graphics and had zombies.
okay.
Like, that's kind
Minecraft does have zombies.
well, I know it kinda does, but,
They're a little blocky in my opinion, but
if it had terrifying zombies.
they're
Because like, well, the way it works is, like, every at night, the zombies come out to play. No, the zombies are out during the day, but they're just faster at night,
mm,
and so you always have to have a base to hunker down in, at
yeah.
nights, um, in order to avoid the zombies sensing you, because they can smell you and whatnot, and hear you when you move, but, then every 7 days, there's a horde night, and the horde nights get bigger and bigger and bigger. And so you have to prepare all week long for for the horde night and make sure that when the horde comes, you have a place and enough weapons and ammo and whatnot to be able to defend yourself because they will find you on horde night. There's no way you can keep them from finding you. And so what we would do oftentimes, or what I would do, one of kind of my proprietary base building methods that I would use would be to build these giant platforms up in the sky that had these massive pillars and then a ladder that led up to the platform so that we could funnel all of the zombies onto the ladder and they would start climbing up and everything on top of each other trying to get at us because the ladder's the shortest route to get to us.
Mhm.
And so we would basically open up the hatch and just like take like guns and like shoot down on the at the zombies
Nice.
and um and then I build them interconnected so the platforms would be interconnected with each other except for they wouldn't be so interconnected that if one fell the others would fall too. They would just have a slight interconnection that would allow us to walk over them, but if one breaks then it would just be the one to go down without pulling the other one down with it. So in other words, if enough zombies come that they like take out the legs of the platform, we can go to a different platform
Mm,
and continue our work there.
smart, smart.
But this game is so much fun because it allows you to be like pretty much anything that you want to be. If you wanted to be a base builder, you could do that. If you wanted to be a forager, you could do that. If you want to be a hunter, you could do that. If you wanted to be a scavenger that goes into houses, like burn down houses or the zombie filled houses
Yeah.
and finds hidden items, and whatnot, like you can do that. You can break there's like these massive hospitals and that have all these kind of awesome drugs in them.
You just hide them.
and there is uh there are football stadiums and schools that you can sometimes find books and recipes for stuff. And then there's expansions that other people have built on top of it that allow you to add even more things into the game. And so they'll add like crafting recipes that have custom like maybe maybe a really fancy sniper rifle or something like
Mm,
that, that
yeah.
you can build. And or even people have even had helicopters, like full on helicopters that you can learn how to build into the game.
Helicopters.
Yes. And so
Oh,
you can
super
fly
cool.
helicopters and you can fly airplanes and like these really, really crazy. And so but it requires so much time to and work to get there because you have to build up, you have to survive, you also have to level up your crafting
Yeah.
experiences. And so I've had I've had like um instances where I've played this with friends, and not only have we been up for days straight playing this thing, but we have played it for weeks on end. Like, because it
Wow.
takes, like, so much work, but you don't even notice the time
Because
going
it's just
by
so
because it's
fun. You're just
so
like
fun.
immersed in it.
It's like, next thing you know, 5 hours have gone by, and you're still sitting there, like, hammering this base.
You're like, yeah, hard work over here.
Yeah.
Yeah. You know, it is nice being able to live in a reality like that for a bit without having to worry about death and pain and hunger for like real, you know?
You still get hungry and you still have to poop, but
Yeah, but very minimal effort to fix that,
mhm, yeah.
you know? So, but oh, dude, this game sounds so fun. Let's definitely play it. I'm
Yeah.
so down because I got a new PC. Dude,
Your PC could actually handle it,
my
which is
PC could actually
awesome.
handle it really well now.
Yeah.
So,
And it does have, like, this kind of element of realism where you have to drink water. You get thirsty if you run a lot. You lose your breath if you run a lot, so you have to level up your physical activity abilities if you plan on doing that a whole
yep,
bunch. And you can actually get food poisoning. You can give yourself diarrhea.
don't
Um,
like that.
you can, uh, accidentally kill yourself with certain consuming certain items. Coffee makes you a lot more, have a lot more stamina, but you get thirsty a lot faster.
Mm, that makes
So it just has like these really like well thought out
mhm.
elements to the game mechanics that kind of reflect the real world in a way that's engaging and fun to play, you know.
Mhm.
Um,
Dude, that sounds like a fun game. You know, I've been needing a new game to play recently because I haven't played video games in a minute. I'm like, man, I feel like my life's really boring. All I do is school and work.
I mean, that's not boring. Like for me, that's all I did for a long. It's only recently that I started picking up games again, but there's a nice element of having a game on hand that you like that you can kind of sit back and relax with and let your brain de-stress, and
Yeah.
um, that's kind of my my problem. Like, if I'm all work and no play, like, that doesn't bother me until it bothers me. Like, so, like,
Oh, for sure.
like, way down the road, eventually that starts kinda grating. Looking at
My brother texted me. He sent me a photo of the motherboard that I got, and he was like, "It's beautiful." I was like, "Yeah, it is. It is beautiful." I
is
know
it
he's
possible to be turned on by an electrical component?
got mommy issues.
How about that motherboard? Mm,
I'm on board with that mother. You know what I'm
mm.
saying? Yeah,
Oh, mama.
I'm ready. It's in there.
Ram it in, yeah. Mm,
Click, just
mhm.
like that. And then,
It's
oh,
about
yeah.
CPU.
Mm.
Ramming it in.
That is true. Well, actually, I should probably head back soon because my brother's about to go to bed and we want to install it together. So
Alrighty then. Well,
5 minutes.
that's a weird note to end on,
I think it's a good one. You know, real life Minecraft, the better.
referring to the motherboard and ramming it in, but yeah.
Yeah, that's you. Mommy issues, you know, all the best things. Yes.
Uh, cool.
Hell
Yeah.
yeah.
Well, we will see you guys on Sunday.
Sunday.
I was distracted by the fact that I realized how weird that must look because I always first looked there, and then I realized that's not where I'm supposed to be looking. So I looked there. So I'm like, it ends up looking like this. It ends up looking like. uh, but yeah, so we'll see you guys on Sunday, and we'll go over. You're going to be going over on Sunday. We will be covering oxyracetam, and we will be covering the hippocampus, and we will be covering reinforcement learning.
Ooh, all good topics.
So
All good
yes,
topics.
really fascinating stuff. Definitely want to tune in for that. And we will see you guys then.
Guys.
Love ya.